All weekend, the media take on 2017, thank God it's over. So much chaos, so much fear. No wonder CNN hit the bong like a babbling deadhead. Fake news will do that to you. But how much of this feeling is actually warranted? Sure, 2017 was bad for ISIS, which means good for us. 2017 was bad for North Korea, who faced new pressure from old pals. That's good for us. 2017 was bad for pessimists. As consumer confidence returned, that's good for us. 2017 was bad for our other global rivals as we renewed emphasis on national security. That's good for us. 2017 was bad. Bad for the media, under fire over bias and undermined by Twitter. Because you are keeping them on their toes. Good for you. 2017 was bad for colleges, all plagued by social justice tyranny. But as the web continued to offer free curriculum to everyone, cracking the monopoly of academia, that's good for you. Colleges are dead. 2017 was bad for countries getting rich off our energy needs. But that's good for us frackers. 2017 was bad for despair, as poverty declined and health improved. 2017 was bad for Harvey Weinstein, which is good for everyone else. 2017 upset the irritating, from Kathy Griffin to Chelsea Handler. That has to be good for us. Now, of course, there were awful events of unspeakable tragedy, from hurricanes to shootings. These events never truly leave us. They appear every year, and they will do so in 2018, sadly. But looking ahead, let's not fudge what's been left behind. It's not as bad as they want you to believe, and it could be even better now. Or worse, who knows? Keep your chin up.
Love it.
All right, Jesse, that was a look back, because we know history will see this differently than the media did. Looking forward, what is your feeling, Mr. Purple Tie?
Maga.
It's not purple.
What would you call that?
Magenta.
Magenta.
It's wool. I also liked how you said
your words.
frackers. I've never heard that one.
Frackers?
Yes. I think Trump has a very clear vision about what he wants to accomplish, and he needs help from the legislature. He did all he could executively this past year, and the two big wins at the end came through help from the legislature. Infrastructure is what he wants, and naturally, real estate tycoon and developer, he's going to obviously take a huge interest in it. It's not going to be like the Obama stimulus plan, where it was $1 trillion for shovel-ready projects that were never shovel-ready. Trump's always been known as someone that's going to do things on time and under budget. So the asset here for him is he gets to leave the White House and campaign for these things in swing districts. And the pitch is going to be, dumb politicians have wasted trillions in a sandbox in the Middle East with nothing to show for it. Let's rebuild this country. And it also woos blue-collar and middle-class voters. He already cut their taxes. Now he's going to spend money. And he's forcing the Democrats to say, are you going to vote with crying Chuck and Nancy? Or are you going to vote in the interests of your people? And the same thing with immigration. That splits the Democratic Party, too, because they have, on the one hand, middle-class people whose wages go down through open borders. And I think a lot of union people also want the wall built. But then you have very loud Hispanic activists that are going to donate a lot of money, and they're probably going to tie themselves to bulldozers on the border to stop the wall. But the Republicans are in a box, too, because on the one hand, they want to end chain migration and the lottery system. But because of big business or ideology, that some of them aren't crazy about the wall, and some of them do or don't want to protect dreamers. But Trump kind of has the Trump card because he has the leverage and can delay the deferment over the Dreamer deal for 6 months and pull the rug out. So I guess the wild card is either Mueller or crazy weather or some foreign affairs crisis, but I think 2018 is going to be pretty good.
Wow. I'm checking to see if you have a fever from being out in Times Square for that.
Well, that's
New
I can't feel my hands.
His MAGA fever.
MAGA fever.
Richard, he did make a good point that, like, this president is shovel-ready, but he's using the shovel to bash everybody he can't stand, and it's kind of refreshing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I feel the same way. I mean, I think that sounds good. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, you have real problems. So in the states that Trump won, so yes, it is true, like the national unemployment is down. So Trump won in Ohio, Trump won Indiana, and Trump won Michigan. In those three states, actually, the unemployment numbers are actually up, right? And Trump hasn't done anything to solve the fears of those individuals. The factories aren't being built there, jobs aren't going back there, right? And he hasn't found a way to fix that. So maybe this infrastructure...
Up from when?
I mean, from 2017, unemployment rates went up, the unemployment rates went up, and the unemployment numbers have gone up in those places. So there's less jobs.
Okay.
Michigan, less jobs. Indiana, less jobs.
That, but okay.
Ohio, look, just check
fewer jobs.
I will.
Fewer jobs.
Thank you.
Fair.
All right.
But
I'm going to have to cut you off for that mistake.
you can call, listen, grammar. You could check my
Once
grammar.
an editor,
but
always an editor.
you can check my grammar, but the facts still remain. There are fewer jobs in these places, and Trump said that he was going to bring jobs and he was going to make America great again for those individuals, but that's not the facts for them. And so what he's going to have to get it done for these individuals, and he's going to have some stumbling blocks. His number one stumbling block is he's going to deal with he's going to have three senators he's going to need to get infrastructure done. They're all three deficit hawks, right? McCain, Flake, and good, from Tennessee, and I'm escaping on his name.
I love it when people do three things. Oh, there you go.
And he's going to need them, and he doesn't have them. And so, on top of the fact that this tax bill added $1.5 trillion to the deficit, any infrastructure bill that passes is going to add more to the deficit, and he's going to have a problem getting these three Republicans to vote with him, on top of the fact that he can't woo Democrats.
I love it when liberals start talking about debt. You know, that's amazing. Anyway, Kimberly.
Republicans used to talk about debt, and then all of a sudden that went out the
we
window.
learned from you. We learned that debt doesn't matter.
No.
Kimberly, Richard brought up infrastructure.
Yeah.
I believe we have sound on tape of
Right.
Sarah Sanders. Do you want me to play it?
Please.
Say please.
Pretty please.
Okay.
That's the nicest I'll be to you.
Infrastructure, welfare reform, border security, which of these is the primary focus in the early stages of 2018?
The president was elected because of his ambitious agenda and his desire to get a lot of things done. The things that you listed are certainly going to be big priorities for us in 2018. A lot of the meetings that the president has this week with leadership will help determine what the best strategy is on each of those individual areas, but those are certainly welfare reform, infrastructure, responsible immigration reform, and health care will all be top priorities for the administration this year.
Those are big priorities.
Big priorities and ambitious, objectives that he's trying to accomplish. But look, this is what he promised, okay? He was supposed to be a transformative candidate and president and make sure that things actually got done to drain the swamp in D.C. And these have been issues that have been so intractable and that there's been a lot of difficulty trying to build consensus, in the past. But I think, fresh off of this tax reform win and being able to work cooperatively with the legislature, that he feels very, I guess positive about it, no, I think that he should, because everybody knows that we need changes in these areas, okay? Everybody's been trying for so long to do something about immigration. It was one of the biggest things that he campaigned on. And now I think going to be strengthened going forward by a strong economy and job numbers and the GDP. He's going to be able to do this. The tax reform is going to help with, pushing those results forward. Immigration, I think, is going to be one of the tough ones. I think healthcare is actually a lot more doable now that what happened with tax reform and the mandate.
Dana, I want you to take it all home. Did you read the Victor David Hanson piece in National Review today?
Nope, I saw the headline, though.
It was The Great Experiment. Talking about how we're going from the most progressive president in history to surprise, probably the most conservative president since Reagan, which proved me wrong. Remember, because I didn't have any idea of what Trump believed. Remember?
Well, I think that it's one of the things I think people were saying goodbye to 2017 was not necessarily it was bad for all the reasons you pointed out in the monologue, but it was exhausting.
Right.
And that it was different and it was new. And so President Trump is disruptive. And it took about a year for people to get used to it. And now you see tweets and you're like, oh, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes they're newsworthy and other times you're like, okay, I'm not going to let this bother me. It's not going to run my day. I also think that every president is dealt a certain hand. And then it depends on how you play it. He was dealt a pretty good hand on the economy, but he's played it very well to his advantage. And so then and those things cycle. Yeah. But the economy's in a really good place right now. And that's where I think one of the things they're doing tomorrow is they're having to get together because they have to figure out a spending bill. All these things they have to do before January 19th. If they can actually get that done, and he has a clean slate for the State of the Union on January 30th, you always want to say that the president has a very ambitious agenda. The second year of legislating is always more difficult than the first, but they had a pretty good end of the year.
Yeah.
And he's much more conservative than he campaigned.
Exactly.
And so people like Republicans who were like, I'm not for the isolationism, I can't do that. We're going to talk about Iran next. I'm like, all the neoconservatives are like, oh yeah, we like that.
No, and that's why I'm saying that I am wrong, Jesse. When I was, because I was wrong. No, because I would sit there and I'd go like, I don't believe anything that because of the protectionism. I just didn't believe that he was going to become this kind of conservative type of a leader. And I just think it's kind of like how he started. We had such skepticism. So far,
Well, can I answer that before
Sure,
he does?
yeah.
Is that I feel like he has surrounded himself by really good people who are persuasive in their arguments. So, for example, you heard about when there was the debate at the White House about the Paris Accords. And there was a certain group in the White House that said, you should really stay in the Paris Accords because it's ineffectual, it doesn't really matter, and it would be better for you diplomatically. But it was Scott Pruitt, the EPA administrator, who came in and was like, here's the 5 reasons that we should actually get out, and laid it out and was persuasive, and he listened to him. And I think that is true on several of these other issues, that he has surrounded himself with good people that are persuasive, and it turns out that they actually end up being more of the type of conservative that establishment Republicans would be used to, so then people are calmer.
So here comes so that's a
I
good,
took over for Jesse, though.
It's
He should
okay.
talk.
But no, it's okay. I'll cede it to Richard so I can blow it out of the water.
Oh, well, you won't. But I mean,
Good
it's-
strategy.
water.
I like your strategy.
but
Blowing it out of the water.
So that paints the question, right? So I think this ideal of us pulling out of the Paris Accord speaks to the fact that it sort of changes what used to be the American way of doing things, our foreign policy norms, and I think that creates a larger problem for us. A recent poll in Germany came out that says Germans actually trust the Russians. They find the Russians more credible than they find the United States. So as Germany...
Why should we care about what the Germans
No,
think?
well, we actually should care about what the Germans think.
No, I
because
care
when
about
we
what Americans think.
This is worse than a Juan Williams poll.
No, this is why it matters.
the Germans.
Because we need the Germans
The
to
Germans
back...
are upset, everybody.
We need the Germans to back us on
The
sanctions.
Paris Accord wasn't the first
We
thing
need the
America ever
Germans-
pulled out of. Like,
we
when Bush
need-
pulled out of Kyoto,
We need the Germans to back us on sanctions. We need the Germans to back us on joint military operations. We're probably going to need the
And they
Germans to
will.
back us on Iran.
But why-
And when we don't have
They did back
credibility...
us on David Hasselhoff.
When we don't have credibility
God
in
they
Europe,
took him.
which is supposed to be our number one, when it comes to content, our continents, who are the number one allies, we need the Germans, we need NATO, and when we lose
they
that
need us.
normalcy, that's a
need us.
problem.
Well, listen, no one's going anywhere without the United States paying for NATO, and now they're paying up their fair share.
Pretty much
and I
paying
think
for
the
everything.
UN Security Council just slapped a few sanctions, 15-0, on North Korea, and I think there was a few European countries
Listen,
there. Richard.
I think we're spending our goodwill a lot faster than we have it, but hey, maybe...
Hey, where did
I think things are
Obama's
going on.
goodwill
I think
get
that's
us for 8
plenty.
years?
Nothing.
ISIS, a terrible deal with
ISIS,
Iran, which we're
debt.
going to talk about in the next block, Kimberly. Would you like to button up this segment with something very smart or complimentary about me?